while I'm not really into parades or anything like that, I love king cakes, but I no longer live in an area where king cakes are really readily available, and the place that used to make my favorites that I would have shipped has no longer is in business and no longer makes them. And so I've been on a search to make a king cake myself. However, I'm not much of a dough maker, and I really don't have the time, patience, or planning capabilities of what it takes to really make a king cake in the traditional sense. So there's a reason they're really expensive. It takes a lot of time and planning to do all that dough. However, I have a shortcut for you that's great for busy people, and it gets that king cake fix in is pretty good. And so that's what we're gonna go over today is our shortcut king cake. All right, if you don't know much about king cakes, they are associated with Epiphany and the celebration of Epiphany, which is when the Magi went to visit Christ child after his birth. So they do have that religious affiliation, but you can enjoy them even if you're not religious. Additionally, I like filled king cakes. Okay, my favorite filling is cream cheese in them, but I like to do cream cheese and a fruit. So the one that's my favorite that the old bakery used to have that I used to buy all the time was cream cheese raspberry. So that's what we're gonna do today is cream cheese with a raspberry filling, but you can fill them with whatever you want. Okay, so you can fill them, one day I'll probably try some apples and things like that, but there's any sort of filling you can imagine, you can just go crazy, and this recipe is actually easy enough where it'll be fun to experiment with. As far as the cream cheese, you can refer back to the cream cheese icing video. We're gonna do something very similar to that, so I'll just speed through making that. It's basically the cream cheese icing that I use with maybe a little less sugar and cinnamon included in the icing. And then for the raspberries, I'm just gonna smush them up, add a little bit of sugar and lemon juice, and put them on the stove, bring them to a little bit of a boil, and mush them up, and that's gonna be the raspberry stuff. So it's actually pretty simple, but we'll go through it step by step. As far as the shortcut, I'm gonna use crescent rolls for the dough. All right, so join me as we make ourselves a king cake for this Mardi Gras. All right, guys, these are fresh raspberries that I just bought today, and nice and rinsed out, just enough to fill the bottom of a small saucepan. And raspberries for me go bad really quickly, so this sauce, however, if you want to make it up a couple days ahead, you can make it up with your fresh raspberries and then do a king cake a couple days later, and the sauce is really quick to make. So we're just going to go through, we're going to kind of cover the raspberries with some just normal sugar. All right, chunk in there. So just cover the raspberries and give it a little bit of lemon juice. That helps keep it. Then we're just gonna mash them up and bring them to a boil. And that's really all it takes here. Now we remove from heat and let that cool. Like I said, you can make it up a couple days in advance and just let it cool and then keep it in the fridge covered. Or you can use it the same day, and I'll sit there and just let it be cooling on an unused eye. Most people would strain it. I actually like the texture of the mushed raspberries, so I'm gonna keep it with the mushed raspberries in there, but it's just your taste and texture preference. If you want to strain it and just have the juice, that's fine. Completely up to you how you like that texture. For me, I like raspberries and the meatiness of everything in there, so I'm just gonna leave it like it is. Also, you'll want to taste test it and see how sweet it is. That depends on the ripeness of the raspberries and everything, how much sugar you put in and all of that. And based off of how sweet that is, you might want to adjust how sweet your cream cheese filling is and your icing glaze that's going to go on at the very end, right? And so just keep in mind that you can kind of just taste test and adjust based off of what sort of sweetnesses you want and everything. And you know, if my raspberries are not very sweet, then I might make sure my cream cheese icing is pretty sweet, and vice versa. Okay? Right, next I'm gonna do the cream cheese icing, where I've already had the butter, 1 stick of butter, these are half sticks, and 8 ounces of cream cheese. I've already had them sitting out on the counter and thawing. Like I said, I'm just gonna do a quick review of this. I have a more thorough explanation in another video. Is just to assemble the cake and bake it. I already have the oven preheating to 350 degrees. Right, and so we're gonna pop open these crescent rolls, and I'm gonna show you how to arrange them to get that round king cake shape that we want. Okay, I'm gonna start with the first pack. Obviously you want to start with clean hands, and I just start here toward the bottom. My tray is just a cookie sheet, one of my thicker cookie sheets, and a silicone baking mat. They're both very well loved. They're very clean, they just are stained. Okay, but if you don't have a silicone baking mat, I would suggest some parchment paper, but I really also just suggest investing in a silicone baking mat because they're fantastic. Right, we're just going to lay them out, kind of overlap them with the skinny end pointing to the center on all of our triangles until we have a circle that should take about 2 hands of the cinnamon rolls. This one part does it. Okay, and as I'm doing this, I'm also going to try to close any holes in the dough that might stretch in there. And as I get to the end, I might have to readjust how much overlap we've got going on. But hopefully this will be a half circle or semicircle with one can, and then we'll be on the right track for the other can, right? Looks like we're on track. This is a big one. Okay, not quite a half circle. rectify that with the next can. Perfect. We just have to work with it a little bit as we go. All right. Next, we're gonna brush the cinnamon roll. We're gonna brush the crescent rolls with butter and add some cinnamon to them. And by the way, this is cinnamon and sugar. This is my own mixture because I just keep recycling the bottle when I run out. But it is cinnamon and sugar together that I keep using in here. Okay, next we're gonna add the cream cheese icing. You could pipe it if you want it. I'm just gonna kind of glop it out and spread it as best I can with a knife. You want it just to be like a ring in the center, right? Because you're going to roll the crescent rolls up around it, and so you want to be sure you have enough room to close the crescent rolls up around the ring of icing and raspberries or whatever you're filling it with. And also, some of the filling will probably come out when you cook it. We just try to, the better closed your crescent rolls or dough is, the less that'll happen. So we'll just kind of see how it goes, but I'm just trying to make a bit of a ring and we'll spread it. All right, I have plenty of extra icing left. I will probably spread that out and put it on graham crackers with chocolate chips because I'm a weirdo that will do that. And also, this is not a necessary step, but it's kind of a fun step. So I like to use a knife to dig a little trench for where I want my raspberries to go inside the ring. Again, not necessary, but fun. Next, the raspberry river. And it really doesn't take a lot of raspberry to flavor this. And if you strained it, it'd just be the red stuff without all the little raspberry parts in there. That's fine, however you want to do that. I have plenty of raspberry stuff left over, so I can use that for whenever I make this again. All right, so next we're just gonna fold this up. Try to overlap as much as possible. Anywhere you have a hole, the raspberries gonna come out a little bit, like the filling's gonna come out. That's okay if that happens, but we just try to make it as secure as possible as we're folding it up and try to have as much overlapping areas as we can. It might still bust out anyway. It really wants to come out, but it'll still taste good, and you can clean that up afterward. All right, so next is just folding it up. Okay, let's find where my last piece was. That was right here. All right. And these are really long triangles. Usually they should come to about right here, but like I said, these triangles were definitely long, which might be good. It might help us from having so many seams. And usually I don't have my triangles overlapping at all with the my skinny part overlapping with the fat part. They usually only come up to about the midpoint there. So I guess maybe I didn't do my ring full enough, but these are unusually long crescent. This one's more appropriate. So pretty, right? And now it's time to close it up the other direction. So we want to as much as possible. Maybe I should have just done mine a little bit closer to the skinny end. Done my filling a little closer to the skinny end. Probably what I should have done. It will still be good, even if it looks a little rough. The inside. It was a little more centered. It's not. I'm afraid if I move it, just mess everything up. Try to do a little bit like that. And next I'm gonna do some more butter. Brush the top with butter. If you wanna add some more cinnamon, you can. Last time I did, I felt like it was a little bit more overwhelming with the cinnamon. But it's entirely up to you. If you really are a huge cinnamon fan, or like really cinnamon king cakes, or maybe if you did like an apple filling only, which is probably the next one I'm going to try of this, then the cinnamon on top would probably really be very, very good. But for this one, I'm not going to add the cinnamon on top. Okay, now I'm going to put it in the oven at 350, and I'm going to say here that baking is probably actually the most complex part of this, because these crescent rolls have a tendency to want to get done in one area and not the other, so really making sure it's brown on the outside and inside. You might want to flip it at some point in the oven, change it from this orientation to that orientation about halfway, 2/3 of the way through, something like that. But that's really the big thing to watch, is to make sure it gets done. And like I said, there's probably going to be some filling escaping, and you know, like I said, we can kind of clean that up after the fact. All of my cakes have looked a little bit different. I've had some that basically have no real center. This one's pretty nice and round. We'll see. That might make it a little easier to cook evenly, but we'll see. Again, you just want to make sure it gets good and brown. Then I'm going to bake it at 350, right? Then after you pull it out, I'm going to let it cool completely. I'm going to take a big pause from cooking on it, let it cool completely, and then I will make the glaze, which my glaze, it will use milk. I didn't put that on the first thing, but it will use just sugar and milk and some vanilla is how I do my glaze, and I just try to make it enough that'll settle up but not get hard, essentially. And so I'll do my glaze, and then I'll add my sanding sugar sprinkles to it, which sometimes I call glitter, but they're sanding sugar food sprinkles, I promise. I just tend to call it, you know, cooking glitter or whatever. But once it's out of the oven and completely cool, we'll add that glaze and do the sprinkles on it, okay? Gold, green, and purple are the colors we're going for Mardi Gras. All right, so if you're doing it for not Mardi Gras, you can do something different. Also, I forgot about this because I don't do the whole baby in there thing, but if you have a plastic baby, the time to put it in there was before we folded this up, right? You just put the plastic baby inside there somewhere when we folded it up, a baby, a bean. I think some people use nuts, stuff like that, but I don't really do the baby thing. And I'm gonna start with about 25 minutes, but I'll be checking in on it regularly and adding, subtracting as needed. But from my past ones, 25 to 30 minutes was pretty necessary, okay? So just to give you an estimation of time. Okay, so I've let it stand there the full 25 minutes, and that seems about right at 350. It's looking like it's pretty much done everywhere. I'm gonna take it out and double check and inspect it. Alright, so this is what it looks like. Might be a little soft on some of those ends in the center, but it's brown enough that I don't think it can really take much more. And that leaked out, and so you can just kind of cut that out and have it as a little snack. There should still be plenty of stuffing in there, and I tend to think these are actually better the next day after they have sat a bit. So I would definitely say cooking it the night before you want to eat it is a great idea, in my opinion. All right. Okay, this isn't quite thin enough to just cut out entirely, or to get so hard, so I'm just going to cut around it with a spoon like that and scoop it out. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and move this to my cake plate. So I've already gone through and used this thin spatula so that that moves easily off of here. So, move it onto my cake plate. There we have it, and I will glaze it directly on this cake plate. In a little bit. Okay, last step, I'm just making the glaze. This is just powdered sugar in here right now, and I'm gonna just make the glaze. It's just powdered sugar and some milk and vanilla, okay? Yeah, somebody's excited about it, yeah. And I'm gonna make this a little bit thicker, a little bit thinner than what I would do for cookie icing, but I use the same recipe for cookie icing, except I make it a little thicker so that I can spread it with a knife. Here, I want to do it as more of a glaze so that I can pour it over the cake. And so if you wanted to do this for cookie icing, feel free, just make it a little thicker if you want to be able to spread it with a knife. You make it thicker by not adding as much milk. All right, so this is very much just add some milk, see what it looks like, and mix the ratios between milk and sugar. That's, like I said, that's just powdered sugar. So mix the ratios between milk and powdered sugar until you get it the right consistency, okay? So we've got that. Should pour easily over the cake. Okay, now I'm going to glaze the cake and add the decorations and the sprinkles. Alright, and the way this icing does is it should get a little hard, but not like regular cookie hard. It should stay kind of soft, but it should solidify a little bit more than in its current form. And then you can do the sprinkles however you want. I think traditional is kind of patches. Sometimes I've done all of the colors at once. I might do the center with all of the colors.